Hello everyone and welcome to SK Economics. I hope guys that your preparation for RBI DPR phase 2 exam is going really good. Now today in this video I will discuss the strategy with respect to the descriptive English paper that will be there in the phase 2 exam. Now guys, before I begin, there are several people who tend to ignore this paper. They basically don't really prepare this descriptive English paper because they think that they will score good enough in the economics paper to cover up any loss suffered in the descriptive English paper. But guys, let me tell you that the range of marks with respect to the both the papers is 60 to 70 only. That is for the economics paper and the descriptive English paper. This is the range of marks. You cannot really score more than 70. I mean, there can be one or two exceptions, but usually if you also look at the marks of the toppers last year and last to last year, so this is the range that you will find. And for both the papers, for the economics paper and also for the descriptive English paper. So guys, if you're thinking that you will score more than 80 in the economics paper and anywhere around 50 or 55 in English, then you will get through. I mean, that is not easy because you will never get above 80 in the economics paper. So you just cannot ignore descriptive English paper. And also because it is also of 100 marks and it has a weightage of 50% in phase 2. So the economics paper and the descriptive English paper, they have equal weightage. So how can you just even imagine to ignore it? That would be really, really dangerous. And if I tell you honestly, preparation for descriptive English is really, really simple as compared to the preparation for the economics paper. Because in the economics paper, there will be just 5 questions, and RBI has the whole economics, various theoretical subjects, Indian economy. They can just pick up any 5 topics. So that is difficult to prepare. There is a bit of luck that is there in the economics paper, but in the descriptive English paper, it won't take much time to prepare, and easily you can get good marks in this. All right. Now let us see what RBI has given in its handout. So guys, this thing I have just taken from the RBI's phase 2 handout for this year. So they have written paper 3, descriptive type English writing skill. Okay. Now the paper on English shall be framed in a manner to assess the writing skills, including expression and understanding of the topic. Now, guys, many of the times people think that if we have knowledge, if we know well about the topic, we will score good in the English paper. But that is not true. Understanding of the topic, that is knowledge of the topic, is just one part of the evaluation criteria. It matters a lot about your writing skills, how good your writing skills are, and how good is your expression, how you express what you want to write. These two things are also very important. It is not that much about the knowledge of the topic. And also, this is just my personal opinion, that if you look at the recent exams that were conducted by various regulatory bodies. So, for example, the RBI General exam, RBI Grade B General. So, I think phase 2 exam happened in I think in towards the end of the June, 25th June, I think, and then the result came pretty quickly. I mean, they didn't even take 1 month, and I think more than 1,000 people had appeared for the phase 2 exam of RBI General. So if it was a human, who was checking these papers, I don't think it is practically possible for a human, to check all these papers. So definitely there is some kind of a software or something that RBI or the IBPS uses to check these papers. So because of this, the understanding of the subject of the topic, I don't think it plays that much of a role as compared to your writing skills and your art of expressing it, right? Now let us read ahead. So the paper may include questions on essay writing, precis writing, and comprehension, and business or office correspondence. So, I mean, generally, what is the pattern is that they ask three questions: one on essay, one on precis, and one on trading comprehension. And this time they've included this business or office correspondence, but I'm not sure if they will ask this because till now, till the last year, they had been asking these three things only. And in the RBI general paper as well, it was just the essay, the precis writing, and the comprehension. And now the questions will be shown on the computer screen, and the candidates will have to type the answers with the help of the keyboard of the computer. Now, guys, you must be knowing, if any of you uh, does not know, then let me just say that the economics paper you will have to write with your hand. They will give a hard copy. They'll give an answer sheet. So on that, you will write by pen the answers. The questions will come on the computer screen. But the descriptive English paper, you will have to type the answers with the help of the keyboard, right? Okay, so I think we are now clear with the pattern. Now, guys, I will show you one sample essay and a sample précis, and we'll try to find out the mistakes done in those sample essays and précis, and try to learn from that. All right. Okay, guys. So now let us discuss a sample essay, and through this, we'll try to see what are the things that you should be avoiding, what are the errors that one can make while writing an essay, and so on. So the topic was impact of Russia-Ukraine war on Indian economy, and this was written by one of the aspirants. So let us just see. Now let us read out the introduction. So Ukraine and Russia had cultural, linguistic, and familial ties since past 100 years. Since the past 100 years. So maybe should have included the here. Ukraine is the second largest Soviet republic after Russia as a part of Soviet Union. On 24th February, Russia-Ukraine entered into a conflict. Now, look at this sentence. Such a short sentence, guys. Just avoid writing these short sentences because it creates a lot of jerk, you know, because when you read it, you feel a jerk. Now, Ukraine role as a buffer between Russia and West, its demand for NATO membership and Russia's interest, you know, Russia's interest in Black Sea are some of the reasons for the ongoing conflict between them. This had impacted. Now, what is had? It is still impacting. So this has impacted global supply chain, leading to spike in global commodity prices. Now, guys, if you look at the introduction, uh, honestly, I will not say that this is a good introduction. No, in fact, you can say that this is below average because just look at the topic. Topic was impact of Russia-Ukraine war on Indian economy. Now, there was no mention of Indian economy in the introduction. In fact, the aspirant discussed about the causes of the war. That is, the role of Ukraine as a buffer between Russia and West, its demand for NATO membership. And I mean, this was not necessary. It was not at all necessary. In fact, you can exclude the causes in the overall essay itself because the essay focuses more on the impact of the war on Indian economy, right? So in the introduction, you should be briefly talking about the overall impact that the war had on Indian economy, basically giving an overview of what you will be writing ahead in the essay, right? And then mentioning this date on 24th February. I mean, this is not necessary, dates and everything. Okay, now let us read ahead. Now, Russia is the largest producer of oil and wheat. India imports 80% of its oil requirements, and Russia exports 18% of wheat globally. Okay, due to these sanctions imposed by United States on Russian exports, oil prices are expected to rise. I mean, they are not expected. I mean, they have actually risen. So yeah, I mean, there should be some correction here. This will result in increase in freight cost, which will further increase transportation and logistics cost. Now, in addition to this, price of so this is the comma should be here. Price of domestic and international commodity will rise. Equity markets. You can maybe say became volatile. So many of the investors shifted from equity to gold investment leading to an increase in the price of gold to $2,000 per ounces. Now, guys, just look at this here. I mean, till now, the aspirant has not discussed what is the impact of this war on India. Explicitly, there is no, not a single point. Gold prices, I mean, international gold prices, the aspirant has mentioned, but I don't know what is the impact on India. Now, India imports 84% of sunflower oil from Russia. War will have negative effect leading to inflation. So just look at these two statements. India imports 84% of its sunflower oil requirement from Russia. Now, there is a full stop here. And then there is a statement that is war will have negative effect leading to inflation. I mean, what is this? This does not make much sense, right? There is no continuity at all. The sentence is, I mean, one sentence should lead to other, but here there's hardly any link. Now, rise in prices of goods which India imports will cause rise in import bills, which will enhance current account deficit of India. Okay, right? India imports 0.2% of gas from Russia. Now, 0.2% of its gas requirement, I think something like this should have been written, from Russia. But sanctions imposed by US on Russia do not include ban on gas imports, which is a sign of relief to India. Now, from the causes, I don't know where to fit this point. So, like, this is a positive, we can say. Okay, let us move ahead. So, due to supply side disruptions caused by sanctions imposed on Russia, vacuum can be filled by India by increasing its wheat exports. Now, ideally, now this is now the aspirant is talking about the opportunities that the war has presented to India. So ideally, he should have started with a new paragraph, right, about the opportunities, because I don't know, and now I cannot figure out what were the what was the impact, the negative impact of the war on Indian economy. There were some points here and there, but now if someone asks me to pick up some points from this essay, it will be very difficult for me to point out because they're so mixed up, right? Okay, what next? Now, there is potential availability of benefit to mustard oil growers in Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. SWIFT, then the full form, is an international organization which is connected with 200 countries and 11,000 banks, handle more than 4 crore transactions in a day, decided to cut ties with Russia. Now, guys, what is the need to mention what SWIFT does? It is an international organization connected with 200 countries, 11,000 banks. Just no need at all. You can simply write that SWIFT decided to cut its ties with Russia. Now, if India, that is India's UPI, that is United Payment Interface, can fill this vacuum, it shall be a great leap for India in the financial sector. So, so many grammatical mistakes, right? Now, what is the next paragraph about? India's petroleum product imports from Russia are only a fraction of its total import bill and hence replaceable. Okay. Wheat from Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh is being delivered at a price between 2400 and 2450. I think maybe he or she could have mentioned rupees here, right? Now, in order to ease inflation pressure, RBI increased its repo rate from 4 to 4.9 percentage. It has asked banks to remain watchful of the ongoing conflict and take proactively take mitigating measures like rising capital to minimize the potential impact. Now, I mean, here this was a point about the potential. I mean, the positives for India. That is an opportunity for India. Now, straight away, rather till here, straight away the sprint jumped to this inflation and the steps taken by RBI. Again, guys, a significant jerk is felt. Now, a partnership of 18 economies, including India, United States, and European Union, has constructed a roadmap for building collectively long-term supply chains. Okay, good point. This will include steps to mitigate the risks arising from supply chain disruptions. All right. Now, the conclusion: ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has adversely impacted Indian economy. Now, I can hardly see what was the impact on Indian economy. I mean, there are some points here and there, but very difficult to figure out where are those points. But it has also opened up new opportunities for India. Okay, Indian economy can fully take advantage of these new opportunities and reduce import dependency and become an exporter of commodities which they initially imported. So, guys, if we talk about this essay overall, I would say it is below average. I will say, because there are a number of grammatical mistakes. I think more than 10 or 15 grammatical mistakes. And guys, remember that marks will be deducted even for the slightest, smallest grammatical mistake you do. Because the paper is checked by a software, by a computer, so that will detect even the smallest of the grammatical mistakes that you will do, right? So please take care of that. And secondly, the content, I think the content was there in this essay. The essay had good content. There were some good points here and there, but what was lacking was proper structure, proper linkage, the flow of thought, from one paragraph to another, and in the same paragraph itself. So that was lacking, right? By using the same content, you can, really draft this essay in a much better way, and that will fetch you marks, right? Introduction, yes, I mean, definitely not a good way to introduce. I mean, because the aspirant, I think, did not really think about the topic of the essay. I think he just thought about the Russia-Ukraine war, but the essay was on the impact of the war on Indian economy. So this the theme of the essay was missing in the introduction, right? Body somewhat good. There were points, but again, the concern was the structure of the points. And then the conclusion, I would say conclusion is fairly okay. I mean, conclusion looks nice, so not much to complain about about the conclusion. But overall, I would say a below average essay. So, guys, I think I believe that this will really help you. My only motive was to show you how not to write an essay. Right. So this is a way which you should not follow. I know there are only a few days left, but I believe just looking at this essay, you can compare essays written by you, and then just see that the areas where you can improve. Now, guys, let us see a sample précis. So this is an article, and it was asked to write a précis of this passage in about 120 words, right? So let us just read out this passage first. So Christian Reed, a project manager, has worked at the Tata Steel plant, Britain's biggest, for 11 years. His father worked in the local steel industry for 40 years, and his grandfather was a foundry worker. Now, it's very difficult to contemplate losing the plant, he says. It would be like losing a member of the family. So I think it's about a steel power plant, and that power plant is about to close down, right? It is something related to that. Now let us read ahead. Now the fate of his job and those of about 4,300 other Port Talbot steel workers, as well as Britain's loss-making steel industry in general, have become the most poignant part of the political row that has erupted in Britain since Tata Steel, Britain's biggest producer, said in late March that it planned to sell or close its operations in the country. So yeah, the thing is that the steel plant, basically, the Tata Steel has decided to overall, to altogether close its operations in Britain. So in the first paragraph, it was about the biggest steel plant in Britain. The closure of that, and then they said that Tata Steel will be closing all its operations in the country, right? Now, the opposition politicians have demanded that the government engineer a rescue either by erecting high tariff walls against cheap steel imports, as America has done, or by going for some sort of nationalization, as Italy has attempted with the ill starved EVA plant in the heel of the country. All right. So now, the opposition politicians, so they have basically given some suggestions that what the government can do to rescue the steel industry. Now, on April 5th, a potential rescuer, Sanjeev Gupta of Liberty House, a commodity trading company, said he was interested in buying the Port Talbot business, though he wants plenty of government sweeteners before doing so. Now, he has called Britain's steel industry probably the worst in the world. Okay, so there is a potential rescuer, Sanjeev Gupta, and he has given his intention to buy this steel, this port Talbot business, but he wants some support from the government as well, and he's terming the steel industry as probably the first in the world. All right, now let us read it. There are few parts of the rich world where steel remains a good business. However, so the above two paragraphs, it seems that steel industry has failed, in Britain, but they are saying that there are still a few parts of the rich world where steel remains a good business. Port Talbot's woes are indicative of a global problem. Now, guys, this is very important that this is not a problem specific to Britain. This is a global problem, especially in places where makers of unspecialized steel face competition from cheaper producers. Okay, so what is happening is, the makers of unspecialized steel. So they are facing competition from the cheaper producers, outside of their country. And because of this, probably they are losing some ground. Now, in the eyes of many, including the Welsh steel workers, the main boogeyman is China, okay, where steel output has ballooned. Now, the country has produced more steel in 2 years than Britain since 1900. Okay, according to the International Steel Statistics Bureau, and is indeed awash with excess capacity. All right, but this is part of a phenomena that extends across the developing world. So they mentioned that China is the main culprit that is eating away the market, producing way too much steel. But then they say that this is in general the same for the developing world. So the OECD, a club mostly of rich countries, reckons that in the 4 years to 2017, steel making capacity will have grown by 50% in the Middle East, 20% in Africa, and 10% in Latin America. So yeah, the thing is that the steel market, the production of steel, so that is slowly shifting to the developing world, right? And China is the biggest player there. Now, meanwhile, the China-led slowdown in developing economies and low oil prices, which have hit the use of steel in rigs and pipelines, mean that demand is severely lacking supply. Okay, even in India, which is supposed to be the bright spot of the global steel market, demand growth is unlikely to recover to levels in the years before 2010 when it embarked on a debt-fueled infrastructure construction binge. Okay, so in the last paragraph, they have mentioned that there is some slowdown in the demand of steel as well, right? And specifically, they have mentioned about India that so firstly, this demand was somewhat led by China, and then they have specifically mentioned about India, that India, which is usually considered as a very bright spot in the global steel market, now there is slowdown in India as well, right? So overall, if I say, the passage talks about the steel industry, and it talks about that steel industry is losing some ground. I mean, the developed countries are losing some ground in the production of steel, and they are being replaced by the developing countries, and especially China. And now they've given these some reasons as well, right? That is the unspecialized steel. So overall, if you see the passage it began with a specific steel plant in Britain. That is, that plant is about to close down, and then it was mentioned that in fact the Tata Steel, the company is closing all its operations in Britain. And then some suggestions, the opposition politicians, they gave some suggestions to revive the steel industry. Then there was a rescuer as well, who offered to rescue the steel industry. And then so this was the two paragraph the first two paragraphs, I would say that they were very specific to what is happening in Britain with regards to the steel industry. Then they talked about in general what is happening to it, to the steel industry in the world. So they told that that there are a few parts of the rich world where steel still remains a good business, right? However, they have mentioned that there is this problem which is occurring, that is the makers of unspecialized steel. So they are facing stiff competition from cheaper steel producers, right? And then they have mentioned that the main culprit here is the China. China is producing a lot of steel. Here you can see, it produced more steel in 2 years than Britain's is 1900, right? And then they talk about that it is not about the China, but even the developing countries in general. They are producing a lot of steel, right? So basically, if we talk about steel production, so developed countries, the rich world, they are losing some ground to the developing countries, right? And then in the last paragraph, they told about some slowdown in the demand of steel as well, which is led by China, and with then one specific point about India as well, right? Now, okay, so now let us look at a sample précis, which was written by one of the aspirants, so of the same passage. So now, the topic that the aspirant chose was this, the title rather, steel plant failure. Now, I would say uh, it is not a very excellent article, because I mean, it was not only about the steel plant failure which happened in Britain, because that was just one part of the story. I think the passage talks about how the dynamics of the steel industry is changing. That is, how the developing countries, they are taking place of the developed countries. And Britain's example was just, a point to prove this, right? So I think a better title could be, like changing dynamics in the steel industry, right? Okay, so now let us read ahead what is there in the content. Now, according to Christian Reed, project manager at the steel plant. Now, I mean, this is not the way to start a proceed. According to Christian Reed, now, firstly, you don't need to mention the names in the proceed. No, not at all. Because, guys, we need to understand that proceed is about, basically, you have to convey the main idea of the passage. So by conveying the main idea, I mean, it does not require to mention out the names, the facts and figures. No, right? So according to Christian Reed, project manager at the steel plant, it is very difficult for workers after losing the Tata Steel plant. Now this is not a very complete statement. It is very difficult for workers after losing the Tata Steel plant. What difficult? Britain's biggest plant for 11 years. It is like losing a member of a family. Now, guys, 11 years, again, a fact, a figure, a number, avoid this. Maybe if at all you need to write this, write that Britain's, whatever, biggest plant for more than a decade, right? Do not write these numbers. Now, it is like losing a member of a family. Now, if you look at the passage, oh, I'm so sorry. Now, if we look at the passage, here it was written, it would be like losing a member of the family. And now you have written the same thing. It is like losing a member of a family. This is not done, because you just cannot copy the exact sentence from the précis. No, no, no. Because guys, you have to understand that in the descriptive English paper, RBI wants to check your drafting skills, right? Now, I mean, if it was just about copying the content from the passage itself, then it was so simple. You know, I mean, why would they even ask you to write a précis then? If it was just copying the, just just cut paste from the passage and then make a summary. No, no, you have to write it in your own words, right? So this is not done. Okay, okay, let us read ahead. Tata Steel biggest producer. Okay, firstly, this is the second paragraph. Now this is again incorrect. Prissy is written in just one paragraph only, you know not more than one paragraph. This is not done, right? Okay, but still, let us read it. Tata Steel, biggest producer, plan to sell the plant in the country due to stiff competition from cheaper producers like China, where steel output has increased manifold. Okay. Now, this is, I would say, A nice point, because the aspirant connected the points from the first, the second paragraph, and from the fourth paragraph. And this is about, this is where the drafting skills are checked. It is not necessary that you just provide a summary of each of these five paragraphs. No, that is not a correct way to draft a précis. Basically, you have to read the passage and then just write it in your own words. And it should not look as if you have read one paragraph and then you have written a summary of that paragraph, and then you have read second paragraph, and then you have written a summary of the second paragraph. No, if you write like this, the examiner will feel a jerk, and that is not a good sign. Okay. Now, so, yeah, okay. Next, opposition politicians. Okay, so guys, this is these spelling mistakes, so marks will be deducted for these. Opposition politicians demanded for high tariffs against cheap steel imports like America, or adopt nationalist policy like Italy. Steel remains a good business for rich world. However, it has now become a global issue, especially for unspecialized steelmakers. Now, guys, this is just copying the stuff straight away from the passage. This is not done at all. No, and there is a huge, a big jerk as well, because the aspirant hasn't used any proper connectors. While connecting two ideas, from the passage, right? Now, the two reasons which have hit the use of steel in rigs and pipelines in emerging nations is that China-led slowdown and low oil prices. Now, just look at this. Here, it ended that the steel, this has become a global issue for unspecialized steel makers. Now, straight away, you are starting with the two reasons which have hit the use of steel in rigs and pipelines. I mean, there is just no connect at all between these two paragraphs. Firstly, there should not be two paragraphs, but still there is no correct here, right? I mean, this is not the way to write, right? Now, the two reasons which have hit the use of steel in rigs and pipelines in emerging nations is that China-led slowdown and low oil prices. Demand is severely lagging supply. It impacted India as well, which is supposed to be the bright spot of the global steel market. Demand growth is unlikely to recover to earlier levels of 2010. So, I mean, I would say the aspirant hasn't really used his or her drafting skills at all. This is not the way you write a précis. And also, if you look at the word limit as well, I think I checked it earlier. It was way more than the word limit, because you had to write the précis in 120 words. I think it was more than 150 words. So 120 words, guys, you have to finish within 120 words, because it is a software. And if you extend beyond 120 words, so for example, if you wrote 122 words, the last two words will not be evaluated at all, because the software will stop at 120 words. So there is no sense in writing extra in Prezi, because that will not be evaluated in any case. And when your essay will stop at 120 words, so the sentence won't be finished, the last sentence. So then there will be grammatical mistake and marks will be deducted. So the key thing is that I can say here is that, firstly, never copy anything blindly, straight away from the passage. No, that is not done, right? Yes, maybe some keywords you can copy, but still I would suggest to use proper synonyms, right? Always use synonyms. Because you have to write the same thing, but write it in your own words, write it in an indirect way, in an indirect speech, right? So first thing is this: do not copy stuff from the passage. Second thing is that write the précis in one single paragraph only, right? Because it is not written in these two or three paragraphs. Okay. And the last thing about word limit again, right? Do not extend the right beyond the word limit, because that will not be evaluated in any case. Now let us talk a little bit about the reading comprehension as well. I'm really sorry I don't have a simple RC and the answers, but I can suggest you just two things here. which will really help you. That is, first, write answers in your own words to the extent possible. So just like in the Prissy, you wrote Prissy in your own words, right? You do not copy anything from the passage. So the same thing applies here as well. Do not, do not copy, from the passage. Do not write exactly the same sentences. Write in your own words to the extent possible. I know that in RC, there may be some questions in which, there's not much room, to improvise or to write in your own words. So that is okay. But try your best that you write it in your own words. And also very important, that is the word limit for the answers. So that is, 1 mark is equal to 10 words. So if there is a question of 5 mark in a precis, so you have to write at least 50 words, right? So this is at least 10 words, I must say. So because I know that even I have done this in 2019 when I appeared in RBI. So I just wrote one single line answers because I just had no idea at all. I thought that that was what is required, but it is not like that. For to get a 1 mark, you have to write 10 words, and I mean, if it is a 5 mark question, you have to write at least 50 words. If it is a 6 mark question, you have to write at least 60 words, right? Okay. Now, guys, my purpose for making this video was to bridge the information asymmetry that is there with respect to the descriptive English exam. Now, I will give you my personal example. Uh, in 2019, I appeared for the RBI Grade B DEPR exam, and these are my marks. So in phase one, I got 58.5. In phase two, in the economics paper, I got 54, and in the English paper, I got just 52. Now, guys, in the economics, I got 54 because I hadn't completed the syllabus by then. There was a question on Mundell Fleming model, and I had no idea about it, so I just left it. So yeah, 54 justified. 52. Now I was really shocked when I got 52 marks because I had purchased a test series, right? Of a very renowned coaching, very famous coaching of RBI, and they had the five tests, and in each of the five tests, I scored more than 80. They gave me more than 80 marks in each of those five tests, and I was so confident that that I will clear phase two because I knew that I'm not well prepared in the economics, but my marks in English in those tests, those mock tests were more than 80. So I thought I will easily compensate for low marks in economics by scoring high in English. And the actual paper, according to me, went well. I mean, whatever understanding I had at that point of time, because there was an essay on cricket, and I am a die-hard cricket fan, so I wrote a very, very wonderful essay. And Prissy and RC, I wrote whatever I knew at that point of time. And I got 52. 52 is, I would say, below average. You will not certainly, qualify for the interview stage by scoring 52 here because, as I have earlier mentioned, the importance of descriptive English. That is, you cannot really compensate for the low marks in English by scoring high in economics because the maximum limit is 70 in economics. So, yeah. Okay. Now, this was in 2019. Now, let me tell you why I got low marks. Firstly, in the Prissy, I did this thing, which was done by one of these aspirants. That is this. you know, That is, I just copied everything from the passage, and this is the same thing I did in those mocks as well, which I had appeared. And I don't know, what kind of coachings these are. They just did not point that out, right? I just copied the stuff from the passage, made a précis. It was so simple. I thought, that it's so simple. Why people are worried about descriptive English? And quite naturally, I must have got less marks in the précis. And the same thing in reading comprehension. I copied the answers from the passage itself. I did not write it in my own words, and I wrote single line answers. For 6 mark question, I just wrote, I think, maybe 2 or 2.5 lines. That's all. And that was the reason, guys. I think I got 52. Right. Now let me show you the my mark sheet for 2021. That is last year. So yeah. Guys, this is the mark sheet of the last year. Now, last year I applied the methods that I told you. That is, I wrote precis in my own words. I had the proper characters to use and everything, right? And in the RC as well, I write answers in my own words, and I maintained the proper word limit. That is, one mark is equal to 10 words. So I followed that. And guys, just look at my marks. I got 66. Now, guys, to honestly tell you, my grammar did not significantly improve in these 2 years. No, it was just about about knowing the correct way of writing precis and reading comprehension, which I know most of the aspirants they don't know, and which I feel very sad that you just don't know how to write precis, and that becomes a reason of you not getting selected, and that should not happen. Everyone should at least know how to write a precis, and then it depends on the skill of the person how good he or she can write, right? So guys, adopt the methods that I've tried to explain in this video, and I got 66 last year, which was I would say decent enough marks, because I think highest was around 69 and 70. And guys, I'm not a very good person in English. I mean, uh, my English is not that good. I tend to make grammatical mistakes. But if I can get 66, so someone who is naturally very good in English, they can easily score. I mean, I don't know how much, but I mean, the last year was 70, so you can easily score 70 if you do well, right? All right, guys. So this is it for this video. I know this video has got so long, but I hope that the video was useful to you. My only objective was to bridge the information asymmetry that is there. And if you find the video useful, then please do like the video, subscribe to my channel, and also share the video with whoever you think needs some help in descriptive English. All right, then goodbye, and I wish you all very best for the phase 2 of DPR.